State Senator Ram Villivalam is the first Asian American elected to the Illinois State Senate and the first Indian American elected to the Illinois General Assembly. And he is the Treasurer's Office Outstanding Commitment as an Elected Official Awardee. Prior to being sworn into the Illinois General Assembly, Senator Villivalam spent 4 years advocating on behalf of home care for seniors and people with disabilities, child care for working families, and Medicaid for those in need. Senator Villivalam also worked at the federal level of government for U.S. Congressman Brad Schneider as his outreach director. Senator Villivalam lives with his wife, Elizabeth, and his son, Rohan, in the North Mayfair neighborhood in the city of Chicago. So, Senator, you have had a long career in public service and advocacy. Maybe you could tell some of our listeners about your journey to becoming the first Asian American in the Illinois State Senate.
Well, thank you, Treasurer Frerichs. First and foremost, let me thank you for doing this interview and recognizing this important milestone and month, and also what you do on a daily basis to make your office and our state more equitable as it relates to our finances and so forth. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all that you do for every community, including the Asian American community. I will just say that it's been in somewhat of a surreal path for me to be where I'm sitting in the Illinois State Capitol. I always was interested in the political process and the legislative process. I went to George Washington University and I came back and started working on campaigns and ended up coming to Springfield to advocate, as you mentioned, for those in need and increasing the minimum wage and so forth. And I was really a big activist in my Indo-American community and trying to get people more involved, whether it was running for school board or judge and voting and a number of other things in between. And eventually it got to the point where people were saying to me, well, when are you going to run? When are you going to run? And I said to them, I love doing what I'm doing behind the scenes. However, at some point, they said, we need you to step up. And I certainly wanted to. Because of my advocacy at the state level, learned a great deal about state level policy and the impact it can have on people. And the rest is history. And I won't say it was easy. It was very hard. However, when you can put your mind to it and bring people together and bring your different experiences, as you mentioned, from working in government, working on the advocacy side, working on campaigns, it was great. And so I'm fortunate to be here, and I look forward to continuing to work to represent all of the communities in my district, including the Asian American community.
Yeah. You talk about bringing skills together. You represent a highly diverse Senate district, from Eastern Europe to South Asia. You've made it a priority to connect with the many communities of the 8th District. Why is this such a priority for you?
Well, it's a priority because if we can bring our communities together, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. And I know that sounds like a line. However, I would say that if we look at our communities, I represent the highest concentration of Orthodox Jewish community members. I have a 23% Asian American district, highest concentration of Syrian Americans. I have the parishes of Queen of All Saints and St. Ed's and a number of other parishes as well in my district. But I believe, number one, we have more in common than we do in difference. And number two, our diversity is certainly our greatest challenge in some ways. However, it's our greatest strength. And so I believe that if we can bring the Jewish community and the Muslim community and the Hindu community and the Catholic community together on issues, we can accomplish a great deal. And so I truly believe that in representing the district that I do, it's my responsibility to not only listen to each community and meet with them, but bring them together, which is why I also have a multi-ethnic advisory committee. And it's people have commented, it's like walking into a room of the United Nations because that's how diverse it is. And so I truly believe, and we've discussed a number of different issues from the census to housing to revenue and the budget and so forth. And it's really opened people's eyes. Public safety, right, is a big issue where, and I'll just say the African American Latino community members in my district had a different opinion than other communities, and we were able to bring people together and have that conversation and really lead to a better understanding.
Yeah, I think you could spend a lot of time navigating those different worlds and bringing people together. But I know throughout your career, you've always been someone who focused on making change happen. So, is there any legislation in the coming session that you're particularly excited to be chief sponsor of?
Well, I'll give you a whole list, but we don't have time for that. I'll say this, it's been, an honor to serve in the Illinois State Senate. I'm so proud to be the first Asian American elected to the Illinois General Assembly, the first the first Asian American elected to the Illinois State Senate, and the first Indian American elected to the Illinois General Assembly. I'm so proud to have four colleagues in the House, Representative Teresa Ma, who was the first Asian American elected to the Illinois General Assembly, Representative Gong Gershowitz, Representative Denise Stoneback, and Representative Janet Yang Rohr. And the legislation that Representative Gong Gershowitz passed recently, the TEACH Act, which would ensure that Asian American history is being taught in our schools, is incredibly important and speaks to so many of us, those that are Asian American, approximately 800,000 Asian Americans in the state of Illinois, about 6 to 7%. However, also to the people that are not Asian American, to get to know about us and learn about the wrongful incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II and so forth. Those are important historical points that may not be it may not be a pretty moment. However, it's something that we need to know, and not just Asian Americans, but everyone in our state. I'm the Senate sponsor of that legislation. I'm going to be carrying the baton, and I look forward to getting it across the finish line.
Great. Now, you and I both know there's often confusion between what you do in Springfield and what happens in Washington, D.C. But you do have experience as a former federal staffer. So how has that assisted you in your current role as a state legislator?
It's a great question. I break my job into three different buckets. One is legislation, two is constituent services, three is outreach. And a lot of folks think of us in Springfield as just legislatively focused. And I would say that over the last year, but also just in general, people don't understand how much constituent services we do. And what I've taken from my time and working at the federal level is that is at the end of the day, that is what our constituents in some ways need the most, right? We're talking about folks that reach out to my office that have been kicked off of their healthcare plan. We're talking about a business owner who needs a new license and is trying to work its way through the government process. We're talking about over the last year helping over 850 people process their unemployment insurance with the Illinois Department of Employment Security. And so, and on top of all that, just recently we made a tool that had three different parts: one, a informational session; two, a soft skills training; and three, actual job interviews. And from my experience working at the federal level, putting on 4 or 5 job fairs during the course of that time, because at the end of the day, people do what we do down here is really important because we're solving problems through legislation for millions of people. That's what legislation does. The constituent services bucket is the one by one folks reaching out and saying, hey, I need help getting this license, or I just got kicked off of Medicaid, and so forth. That's something that is really personal and really integral to my district, and making sure they get the help that they need. And then the outreach, the last bucket, is I don't know about the issues that I introduce legislation on, or the issues that I help people with in the district, unless I reach out to them and unless they reach out to me. And that's such a cornerstone of what we do. And so I am very thankful for my experience working at the federal level, because that's really informed how I'm able to help people in my district.
Yeah, you make this job seem like a lot of work, but also very fulfilling, rewarding. So if anyone out there watching today says, I would like to be involved in stuff like that, any words of wisdom you would share with individuals following in your footsteps, people who want to be agents of change in their communities?
Jump in. The water is warm. I would say this, I talked about how I got here, and really it started in high school. And I did a program called Junior Statesman of America, and really did a couple classes. And then what really got me hooked was the nightly debates that we would have on, women's right to choose and affordable housing and affirmative action and so many other issues. And even, it was fun to talk about, we had instances that during that summer, I think it was the 10th grade, after my 10th grade, where we would debate, what's the best TV show ever, Friends or Seinfeld. I'm not asking people to decide on this Zoom or WebEx here, but the point I'm trying to make is there's no issue that isn't important, and there's always an issue that you're passionate about that needs to be discussed at the legislative level and in our government. And it's time. Anyone that has even a semblance of an interest should roll up their sleeves, jump in, and organize. Really, look, this isn't easy, but if you want to pursue a career in public service, standing on the sidelines isn't going to make it happen. And so I would just say, look to people that you trust, get involved with your local community organizations, and start reaching out to me, your state senator, or anyone else, your treasurer. Really get involved and dig in. And so I think that's where it starts.
Well, Senator, I want to say thank you for your time. Congratulations for the work you've done. But I remind you, this is not a Lifetime Achievement Award. You're a young man who's got a bright future ahead of you, and I look forward to seeing your contributions for years to come. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you again, Treasurer. And again, thank you for all that you do on behalf of our state, and look forward to continuing to work together.